In the last episode, we talked about how teams end up in conflict by design, not because people are broken, but because the system quietly pits them against each other. Today, I want to zoom in on one of the most powerful and visible ways that happens: metrics. Hi, I'm Jen Kronberger, and this is Brave in 5. Most leaders I talk to don't wake up thinking, how can I make life harder for that other team today? At least I hope they don't. They wake up thinking, how do I hit my number? How do I protect my team? How do I not be the one who drops the ball? And what sits underneath all of those questions is what they're actually being measured on: revenue, cost, speed, headcount, risk, satisfaction, NPS, utilization. A handful of metrics that quietly say, this is what makes you safe. This is what makes you valuable. And this is what gets you praised or punished. Now imagine this. Your team is measured on speed. Another team is measured on risk. You are rewarded for shipping fast. They are rewarded for preventing disasters. You come into a meeting saying, we have to go. They come in saying, we have to slow down. It's very easy from where you sit to start seeing them as the problem. They're blocking us. They don't get the business. They're always saying no. And from where they sit, it's just as easy to see you as the problem. They're reckless. They don't think things through. They dump messes on us to clean up later. And all of that can be true from each person's perspective, without anyone actually being wrong. Because the real conflict is not between you and them. It's between your metric and theirs. The system has quietly created a situation where for you to feel safe, you have to do things that make them feel unsafe. For them to do their job well, they have to do things that make your job harder. That's how metrics quietly create enemies. So what do we do with that if we're trying to lead brave? Well, first we tell the truth about it. Instead of saying, why won't they just collaborate? You say something more like, hey, let's be honest. We're being measured on different things. I'm incentivized to prioritize speed. You're incentivized to prioritize safety. Of course, that creates tension. That one sentence does a lot. It takes the heat off of personalities and puts it back on design. It says the friction makes sense instead of the friction means you're difficult. Second, we start to surface the math together. In your next cross-functional conversation, try this. Ask each team in one sentence, what are you actually being measured on this quarter? And what's the thing you're most afraid of if we compromise? You might hear, if we miss this launch date, we lose credibility. Or if we release with a flaw, we lose trust. Or if we overspend, I lose my ability to hire. If we underinvest, I can't hit my long-term targets. Now, you're not fighting about who cares more or who's right. You're looking together at the trade-offs that the system created. That's where belonging starts to stretch beyond your own function. Because you move from my metric versus yours to all of us versus this set of constraints we didn't fully choose. Third, for the things you can influence, you design one shared win. For a specific initiative, you and the other leader might agree, whatever else happens, this is our shared outcome. We both own this. Maybe it's launch the product and keep customer complaints below X, or cut costs without increasing attrition in these roles. You still have your metrics. They still have theirs. But there's now one thing neither of you can win alone. And you talk about that shared outcome as often as you talk about your own numbers. So here's your Brave in 5 reflection this week. First, pick one team you frequently butt heads with. Just one. Who comes to mind immediately? Second, ask yourself honestly, what am I measured on that I might be putting me at odds with them? Where does hitting your target quietly mean creating more pressure for them? And then third, what's one question you could bring into your next conversation that surfaces the math instead of attacking the person? Something like, can we each put our top 1 or 2 metrics on the table and talk about where they collide? I'd rather design around that than pretend it isn't there. You're not fixing the whole incentive system, You're refusing to let it silently turn colleagues into opponents. Because at the end of the day, metrics are just tools. They're supposed to help you see the work clearly, not lose sight of each other. Stay human.